Why hello and greetings, my fellow ghouls, goblins, and ghosts. I hope you all are doing well on this spectacular day. I hope it's dripping with ghosts, gore, and plenty of scares. I am Purgatory, the Queen of Samhain, and I want to welcome you all to my Catacombs of Creepiness. Here in my Catacombs of Creepiness, we talk all things horror, big or small. So if you're into that kind of thing, please smash the like button below and hit subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on all platforms, that's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at PurgatoriHorror. Alright, well, let's get into today's subject matter, shall we? And I believe this is my first real compare and contrast video, so I'm super excited about it, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. I think you will once you hear what I'm about to say. To start a series where I compare foreign horror films to their American remakes, or American horror films to their foreign remakes / knockoffs, if at all available. If you like this video and you like the series idea, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Today I am going to be comparing William Friedkin / William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist 1973 with ŞEYTAN, spelled S-E-Y-T-A-N, aka The Turkish Exorcist 1974, which is actually a scene-for-scene Turkish remake / adaptation of The Exorcist 1973, but with a few minor differences, and I'll get to those shortly. I will start out by saying that they are very, very much the same, very similar, almost identical in almost every part. Not all the parts, but almost every part is basically the same movie, just, with different names in Turkish. The beginning starts off with a distorted version of The Exorcist iconic theme song, Tubular Bells. A very distorted version of the song, and because it's so distorted, it's actually super creepy and sounds like you're about to watch a cursed movie. This song is actually heard playing throughout the duration of the film in a lot of scenes. The names, like I said before, are obviously changed to Turkish names in ŞEYTAN 1974. Father Damien Karras is Togrul, and Reagan McNeil is Ghoul or Ghoul. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hate butchering names. But as I said before, it's basically scene for scene The Exorcist. After the opening credits, the first act starts off the same way, with the main priest digging up artifacts in Iraq, only to come across the statue of the devil, and I'll put a side-by-side, picture of from The Exorcist and from Satan to kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. You probably already know, but check it out. Ghoul, the possessed girl, is an artist, just like Reagan, and she loves to make clay sculptures and paintings and things like that, just like Reagan. Like in The Exorcist, Ghoul confesses to have been playing with a Ouija board, and when her mother wants to play with her, she says Captain Lurson doesn't want her to play. Yes, in this film, instead of Captain Howdy, it is Captain Lurson. Interesting. There are even scenes of Togrul, which is this film's Father Damien Karras, visiting his mother, who lives alone, who is inevitably put in an asylum where she dies, just like in The Exorcist, which ultimately haunts Togrul, just like it haunted Damien Karras in The Exorcist. Ghoul, this film's version of Reagan McNeil, is taken to several doctors for an odd condition she may have in hopes that doctors can find out what is ailing her, much like in William Friedkin's classic, or, William Peter Blatty's book. They do the same exact medical procedures on her as they do to Reagan in The Exorcist. They believe it is something in the temporal lobe that is causing it, like in The Exorcist, and after her brain scans, doctors are asked to make an urgent house call to where Ghoul is flinging herself back and forth on the bed. Only in this one, she is slamming her head onto the bed profusely, not her back. It was mentioned earlier in the film that her whole bed was shaking, which the doctors dismissed just like they did in The Exorcist 1973. Anyway, back to the scene where she is flinging her head on the bed and the doctors make the house call. Ghoul is begging for them to help her and for her mother to help her, to which you see her throat expand and her voice change. Now Ghoul is screaming obscenities at her mother and the doctors. Sounds pretty familiar, right? Ghoul's mother, once she realizes there is nothing the doctors or psychiatrists can do at this point to help her daughter, decided to seek the help of Togrul, aka Damien Karras, just like in the previous film. He offers to come take a look at her, to where she is restrained to her bed and her voice is very deep and demonic. In front of him, she makes drawers open, much like Regan did to Damien when he came to see her in The Exorcist. Once she, or the devil inside of her that is, claims to know of his mother and her demise, he asks what his mother's maiden name was, just like Karras did, to which she responds by projectile vomiting green gunk in his face. Sounds very familiar, am I right? Basically, the rest of the film is an exact copy of The Exorcist. The detective, the crude masturbation scene, the exorcism, the climax of the film, even the death of Togrul, much like Damien, where he flung himself out of the girl's window to where he is tumbling down a large flight of stairs, breaking his neck and cracking his head open. Nevertheless, there are some slight differences. Now, let's get into those, shall we? Togrul is more of a priest/psychiatrist like Damien Karras was, but in this film, he wrote books on how the phenomenon of the devil and exorcisms are BS in his eyes. In The Exorcist, Damien wrote articles, not books. In Satan, Ghoul's mother finds one of Togrul's books in the attic mysteriously appear out of thin air. Also, speaking of Ghoul's mother, she wasn't an actress like Regan's mother was in The Exorcist. The party in this film is not a dinner party like it is in The Exorcist. It is actually a birthday party for Ghoul/Regan. Burke's character is in the film, you know, the director that had a thing for Regan's mom. He was in the film, but he was just a family friend. However, Ghoul did push him out of her window where he died on the large flight of stairs, like in The Exorcist, but in this film, Ghoul hated his guts, as he was really creepy towards her and acted a little predatory, it seemed. Like at the party in the original film, Ghoul still comes downstairs, says something really creepy, and then pees on the floor, just like she did in The Exorcist. I actually forgot to mention that before. That's not a difference, that is a similarity. Another difference, as I mentioned before, is that the demon is referred to by Ghoul as Captain Lurson instead of Captain Howdy. Kind of similar, but, you know, very different. There was a crude, you know, you know the scene. You know the scene, I don't think I have to say it. There was a sequence just like that in the film, but instead of it being with a crucifix, it was a very sharp, devil-headed letter opener. That's what was used, which is actually a lot more gruesome and painful sounding if you think about it. Even though the part in The Exorcist was way more bloody, this was just very disturbing. The part was still very disturbing. If you know, you know. The last difference in this film that I can think of is the famous line, "The power of Christ compels you." Instead, the line in the film is, "May God's grace be upon you." I definitely like "The power of Christ compels you" better, though. It just sounds more badass to me. I'm pretty sure a lot of you will probably agree. Now for my final thoughts on the film. I definitely thought it was fun seeing a foreign adaptation of The Exorcist. But The Exorcist was 1.5 million times better, obviously. I mean, I did like the film, don't get me wrong, but if I had to choose one to watch, it would be the actual Exorcist. You know, it's basically scene for scene The Exorcist anyway, so why not watch the actual better, more clear version? I will say one thing. The demon's voice coming out of the child is a lot deeper than in The Exorcist. and will creep you the hell out. It was actually a lot creepier sounding than Reagan's voice. Like, it sounded disturbingly demonic. It was creepy. Some parts are actually a lot creepier now that I think about it, but overall, The Exorcist is definitely the better film. The film quality of Satan is very poor, which does add to the creep factor a lot. It kind of feels like you're watching like a cursed movie or something. It's really creepy. But if you're interested in checking out Satan, aka Turkish Exorcist, I do recommend doing it because international horror is fun. Especially if it's an international remake, which is something you don't see all the time. It's currently streaming for free on the Tubi app if you're interested. Like I said, I highly recommend at least checking it out once. International horror is great, and international remakes are freaking interesting. Well, that just about does it for today's video. Be sure to give me a like and subscribe. Hit the little bell notification so you never miss when I post a new video. Be sure to follow me on all platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at PurgatoriHorror. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, I do have a Patreon with my lowest subscription being only $3 a month. Each tier has something different to offer, and I am constantly updating the perks on them. It's a great way to support the channel if you want to support the channel in a different way. I'll put the link in the description below if you're interested. It would definitely mean a lot. I also want to thank all of my current patrons. From the bottom of my heart, your support means the world to me. It does not go underappreciated or unnoticed. I love you guys, I see you, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I love you, so long, and pleasant screams.